You cannot live in this world very long without being hurt by another human being. Whether you respond by harboring bitterness or working through forgiveness will determine the direction of the rest of your life. Joseph once again provides an excellent example of a man who responded correctly and was abundantly blessed.
Mr. Connors, I've heard the charges against you. 1 count of driving under the influence of intoxicants and 1 count of second-degree manslaughter. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Joseph's brothers made their way from Canaan to Egypt to buy grain. And guess who they encounter there? The Bible says the famine was very severe in Canaan, and the brothers were desperate. Upon hearing that there was food in Egypt, they made their way to that country, and they had no idea that their brother, Joseph, was the governor of the land in charge of the food distribution program there. When they saw Joseph, they didn't recognize him, but they bowed down with their faces to the ground, begging for assistance. Now, it's not surprising that they didn't recognize Joseph. I mean, he'd left home when he was 17. Now he's about 40 years of age. And some strange things happen to your body between 17 and 40. If you've ever been back to your 25th high school reunion, you know what I'm talking about. But while they didn't recognize Joseph, Joseph recognized them. And when he saw his brothers prostrate on the ground before him, he remembered that strange dream that he had as a teenage boy of his brother's sheaves bowing down to his. And now he saw that dream was being fulfilled right in front of his very eyes. And now he had the perfect opportunity for revenge. He had his brothers right where he wanted them for the past 20 years. Joseph could have got even with his brothers by verbally humiliating them or economically depriving them. He could have said, "Sorry guys, you're going home empty-handed. I'm Joseph, your brother. And if you think I'm going to give you any grain after what you did to me, you're out of your mind. I don't care if you starve to death. Get your sorry bodies out of here before I change my mind and do something worse." Or he could have administered justice. You know, an eye for an eye. He could have imprisoned them, let them know what it was like to be in a dungeon. He could have tortured them and told them they were going to be executed and then change his mind at the last minute and sell them as slaves. Isn't that what they did to him?
Mr. Peterson, does your client understand the serious nature of these charges?
Yes, he does, Your Honor. And despite the advice of counsel, he has instructed me to offer no defense against them.
Very well. I hereby set a sentencing hearing for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Victim impact statements will be heard at that time. Sheriff, take Mr. Connors into custody. Court is adjourned.
Joseph had this perfect opportunity to get even. But notice what he did. First, he accused his brothers of spying. No, they protested. We're not spies, we're honest men. And then they go on to explain, your servants were 12 brothers, the son of one man who lives in the land of Canaan. Now the youngest is with our father, and one is no more. Joseph said to them, no, it's just as I told you, you're spies. And this is how you're going to be tested. I swear to you, you will not leave this place unless your younger brother comes here. Send one of your number to get your brother, and the rest of you will be kept in prison, so that we'll test your words to see if you're telling the truth. And if you're not, as surely as Pharaoh lives, you're spies. You'll be treated accordingly. And he put them all in custody for 3 days. I find it kind of surprising that Joseph didn't just reveal himself at that moment and forgive them and be reconciled. But I can think of a couple possible reasons why he didn't. First, maybe he was getting some satisfaction from making them squirm for a while. Maybe he was really struggling with this temptation to retaliate. So Joseph paid no attention to their pleas for mercy, just as they had paid no attention to his pleas for mercy when they threw him in a pit. And Joseph put them in prison for 3 days, just as he had been put in prison. Maybe he's genuinely struggling with what to do. But the other explanation is the one I like the best. Remember when Joseph was young, he had this dream that their 11 sheaves of grain bowed down to his sheaf of grain? And when he saw that his brothers bowed down to him, he remembered that dream, but there were only 10 of them. His dream wasn't fulfilled until all 11 were there. Maybe Joseph understood God's will was not realized until Benjamin was present, and he was willing to wait.
I miss you guys. God, I hate this silence. But I can't fill it up. I hate it. It hurts. Can you hear me? It hurts. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Done! Ice cream time!
Aw, come on, you guys. I can't do this. Feel free to come along and pitch in and help me.
Daddy said everybody has to do their own picture.
Thanks a bunch.
Just close your eyes. Imagine God's most beautiful creation. Then paint it. How hard can that be?
You're a pain, you know that.
But I have a heart of gold.
So is a hard-boiled egg. Hey, come on, you guys. I can't stay here by myself. I want to be with you. I can't stay here by myself. I want to be with you.
After 3 days, Joseph came to his imprisoned brothers and said, "You know, I've changed my mind. All of you can go back home except one, and I'll keep that one here as hostage. But if you come back here for more grain, you better bring your younger brother or you'll get no food." The brothers headed home deeply troubled. And they said to one another, "Surely we're being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we didn't listen. That's why this trouble has come upon us today." And Reuben said, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we've got to give an accounting for his blood." You know what? The conscience has a long memory. It's still working on them after 20 years. The brothers went back to Canaan, but sometime later their food supply ran out again, and they headed to Egypt a second time. But this time, they took their younger brother Benjamin with them. Now, when Joseph saw Benjamin, the Bible says he was deeply moved. And he went into his private quarters and wept there. Several times in the final chapters of Genesis, we read that Joseph wept. That's another way that he was like Jesus. He had a sensitive heart. Then Joseph washed his face, regained his composure, and came back out. And Joseph served them a feast. And at the banquet, the brothers were seated around the table in order of their birth. And they were perplexed as to how that happened. How did he know? Then when it came time to eat, Joseph arranged that Benjamin got 5 times as much food as the other brothers. Now, that's a sure formula for provoking jealousy. Remember, there was a famine in the land, and these Hebrew shepherds were rationing what little food they had left. But Benjamin is gobbling up this huge portion. And Joseph observed that his brothers weren't hostile toward Benjamin the way they'd been hostile toward him 20 years before. The morning after the banquet, the brothers headed for home. They had to feel really good about their trip. It seemed like their mission had been a total success. They had Benjamin with them, Simeon had been released from prison, and their sacks were filled with grain. But when they got to the edge of town, they were stopped by the authorities. And the police demanded, "How could you possibly return evil for good? Our master does all this for you, and now you steal his favorite cup from the palace." And the brothers responded, "We didn't steal anything. In fact, if you find that cup on our person, we'll be your slaves, and you can execute the guilty party." Of course, they didn't know that Joseph had prepared a final test for them. The Bible says the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. And at this, the brothers tore their clothes, reloaded their donkeys, and returned to the city. They said, "No way we're going back home. We're not leaving Benjamin here." And crushed, they trudged back to once again appear before Joseph. There, Judah makes an impassioned plea. He says to Joseph, "Please let me remain here as my Lord's slave in place of the boy, and let him return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, don't let me see the misery that would come upon my father." In other words, Judah is saying, release Benjamin, imprison me in his place, execute me if you have to, but let the boy go, please.
Joseph's older brothers proved that their hearts had profoundly changed. That's all it took. Joseph realized these guys had repented. At this point, Joseph breaks.
There is a dramatic scene in the 45th chapter of Genesis when Joseph reveals his identity to his brothers. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers weren't able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. So Joseph said to his brothers, "Come closer." And when they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now don't be distressed. Don't be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." And they were still speechless. They were incredulous. So Joseph repeated the same theme. "God sent me ahead of you to preserve a remnant on earth and to save our family from this horrible famine. So then, it really wasn't you who sent me here, but it was God. What you meant for evil, God meant for good."
I should have gone over there.
I called the house this morning and she didn't answer. I thought she must have left early.
So where is she?
All rise. Shelby County Circuit Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Earl S. Compton presiding.
You may be seated. You have been impaneled today to recommend the penalty this court should impose on Garrett Allen Connors, who has pled guilty to 1 count of driving under the influence of intoxicants and 1 count of second-degree manslaughter in the death of Rebecca Ann Bradshaw. Are there witnesses who will address the court before sentence is passed on the defendant?
There are. Your Honor. A moment, please, Your Honor. Are you ready to do this?
Yes.
The Commonwealth would like to call Sarah Bradshaw.
Please state your name.
Sarah Elizabeth Bradshaw.
And your relationship to the victim?
I'm her mother.
You may proceed with your statement, Miss Bradshaw.
I've been thinking about what I would say today for months. I wrote it down so I wouldn't leave anything out. All of this is because of that little girl right there. My little girl. Becca was so full of love and joy. Sometimes it blinded me just to look at her. The day that photo was taken, I told her socks didn't match. And she said, "Yes, they do, Mommy. The purple one matches my personality and the white one matches my eyeball." There is no punishment that would fit the crime of destroying that little girl. Not 100 years in a cage, or hanging, or a firing squad, or a guillotine. Garrett Connors got drunk, ran a red light, and smashed into my car. And because of it, Becca is dead. And I've asked myself 1,000,000 times, if there is a God, a good God, why is Becca dead? But because there is a good God, Becca's not dead. I want to be with you. Oh, come on, you guys. I can't stay here by myself. I want to be with you.
Sorry, still got work to do.
Just wait for the rain to stop and watch me finish painting.
Daddy voted my picture the best. I'm gonna have a chocolate sundae.
Wait!
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Will be.
Will be who?
We'll be waiting for you.
But what if it's real?
Imagine God's most beautiful creation.
What if he wipes away all the tears?
Becca is alive. She's beautiful and joyful. I believe that. I know it's true. But I can't have it both ways. I can't believe that God's caring for my little girl in heaven. I can't know that in my heart, if my heart's full of spite and hatred and revenge, I forgive you. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's not a one-time thing either. But I did it today. I'll get up tomorrow morning and I'll do it again. A God powerful enough to create a beautiful place for Becca and Blake and me is powerful enough to give me the strength to forgive. Again and again, as long as it takes. Please, show mercy and compassion to this man. Revenge won't bring Becca back. It will only stain her passing, making it ugly and despairing. I want what happens today in this courtroom to be light, not darkness. A moment of pure grace. That alone would be a fitting memorial to the life of Rebecca Ann Bradshaw. That's it.
Thank you, Miss Bradshaw. You may step down.
He believed that the hand of God was on him. What his brothers meant for evil, God had turned around for good. God was using Joseph's leadership in Egypt to preserve the entire Israelite family in a time of terrible drought. God can take that which men intend for evil and turn it around to accomplish his will. He did that with Jesus. Men arrested and brutalized Jesus. They nailed him to a cross and killed him. But God took that horrid deed and used it to save the world from sin. While dying, Jesus prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Now, one of the ways we find the resource to forgive today is to remember the promise of Romans 8:28. We know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. God can still take the worst thing that men can do to you and turn it around to accomplish his purpose in your life.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Will the defendant please rise?
On one count of driving under the influence of intoxicants, we, the jury, recommend the maximum sentence allowed by law, 6 months in jail. On one count of second-degree manslaughter, we, the jury, recommend the minimum sentence allowed by law, 12 months in prison. And we further recommend that both sentences be served concurrently.
Order, please. Mr. Connors, it is the ruling of this court that the Commonwealth of Kentucky will impose on you the sentence recommended by the jury, 12 months in prison. Court is adjourned.
You coming over tomorrow? I need my stylist.
After lunch?
No, before. John can grill us some rockin' kosher hot dogs.
See you then.
Hey! Where are you going? Oh! Where are you parked? I walked. Are you crazy?
though we can't comprehend right now why we suffer, like Joseph, let's wait. Let's trust that God has an ultimate plan. Let's simply pray, God, your will. Nothing more, nothing less, and nothing else.
Dear Sarah, I'll be gone when you read this. Not gone, that's a foofy, squeamish way to put it. When you read this, I'll be dead. But I swear I was alive when I wrote it. Alive and wanting oh so desperately to stay alive. I wish I could speak to you from the other side of the grave and tell you something comforting about the purpose of pain. Tell you that your suffering somehow made a difference.
Welcome home.
All right, whose birthday is it?
But is that it? Was that all it accomplished? Why does God take the training wheels off life when he knows we could crash? Wish I had the answer for you, sweetie. But I just don't know. The only thing I do know is that I'm okay with it. I may not understand what God's doing, but I trust him. I've gotten skin knees and a mouthful of gravel, but I've had an amazing ride.
Well done, boss.
I can't wait to see you again, my friend. I love you. Tracy.